wolves got the pack and it's boof. Wish you would pick the slack cause it's loose. Get the bag, pop the tag, then we move. The Fyre Festival, easily one of the most disastrous music festivals of all time. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this festival, or if you need a little refreshing on just how crazy it was, I recently did an entire documentary all about it. But while that documentary covers almost everything that went down with the festival itself, I have seen some people saying they wanted to hear more about exactly what has gone on since the festival happened, or I guess didn't happen. So that's what this video is. The aftermath of Fyre Festival. So let's start right when they announced that the festival was cancelled, on April 28th, 2017, now almost 5 years ago, as the Fyre Festival team would officially put out this statement, saying, due to circumstances out of our control, the physical infrastructure was not in place on time, and we are unable to fulfill on that vision safely and enjoyably for our guests. The festival is being postponed until we can further assess if and when we are able to create the high-quality experience we envisioned. But as I also stated in my previous documentary, the circumstances were entirely in their control and they just totally blew it. So then, right after it was announced that the festival had officially been cancelled,
Fyre Festival is officially cancelled. We just got the news, guys.
co-founder Ja Rule would post this statement on Twitter, saying, "I wanted this to be an amazing event. It was not a scam as everyone is reporting."
Stop the cap.
I don't know how everything went so left, but I'm working to make it right by making sure everyone is refunded. I truly apologize as this is not my fault, but I'm taking responsibility. I'm deeply sorry to everyone who was inconvenienced by this. But as the news of just how disastrous this festival was began to spread, as well as the outrage from the attendees began to grow, the next day co-founder Billy McFarland would come out and say this.
V1 has failed, so how we're solving this is, first, all guests have been taken home safely on planes. Next, everybody is being refunded for their ticket purchase. And then everybody is getting a comp ticket to Fyre Festival 2018.
But that 2018 festival Billy mentioned would thankfully never happen, and instead, just days later on May 1st, 2017, Fyre Festival organizers Billy McFarland and Ja Rule were sued for $100 million in a class action lawsuit. And in addition to that class action lawsuit, both of them would also face dozens of other individual lawsuits filed from festival attendees and investors. Then shortly after, on June 30th, Billy McFarland was arrested by federal agents and charged with wire fraud in relation to his company Fyre Media, as well as with his relation to the Fyre Festival.
One of the founders of the failed music festival that drew headlines earlier this year is now facing fraud charges.
He allegedly presented fake documents to induce investors to put over $1 million into his company and the fiasco called the Fyre Festival.
So Billy had allegedly been sending fake documents to investors claiming just how successful his company had been doing, when that actually wasn't the case. From claiming that Fyre Media had already made millions of dollars in revenue, when in reality it was only around $60,000, saying he had more than $2.5 million in shares in Facebook stock, when in reality he owned just $1,500 worth, then claiming that they had been given an island in the Bahamas worth $8 million, which they did not, and even claiming that they had booked Drake to perform as a musical act at the festival, which again was just not true.
I think to start, even if the Fyre Festival was the success and everything that I believed, or I hoped, is probably a better word, that it was going to be, came true, I'd still be in jail. I was still guilty. And what I did was I lied to my investors and other partners about the status of our company, how much money we had, how much money we were making to get money that I thought we needed for the festival.
So at this point now, Billy was facing up to 4 years in federal prison, but the story definitely doesn't stop there. After Billy would be released on $3,000 bail on July 1st, he would then claim just how broke he was, and then moved out of his luxury apartment and then into his parents' basement in their New Jersey home. However, despite again claiming that he was now broke, Billy was still living large while out on bail, as shortly after Billy would ask a few of his friends, those that he had left, to come meet up with him in this luxury luxury 1,400-foot private penthouse hotel he was staying at in New York City. And not just his few friends, but Billy would also reach out to Frank Tribble Jr., a young 23-year-old entrepreneur who supposedly worked for a company called NYC VIP Access. And Billy basically told him the current situation, that he's in some real hot water due to the failure of his festival, but also that Billy wanted Frank to join him and kind of become the new face of the Fyre company. And the two of them got right to work, as again, despite being literally out on bail, Billy went right back to his scamming ways. Starting in December of 2017, all of the Fyre Festival attendees on the email list would begin receiving emails, all sent out from a company called NYC VIP Access. And these emails would include offers to many huge upcoming events, such as tickets to the 2018 Masters Golf Tournament, VIP passes to the upcoming Coachella, courtside tickets at Madison Square Garden, tickets to the 2018 Met Gala, and much more, all being sent from a guy named Frank, and all following that familiar same theme of the Fyre Festival, offering access to the billionaire lifestyle on a minimal budget. However, this time a lot of the festival attendees who were receiving these emails would become very suspicious, as this time it really seemed too good to be true, and some of them, like tickets to the Met Gala, were just clearly a scam, since you have to be invited to the Met Gala and they don't even sell tickets. But Billy and Frank wouldn't stop at just these emails. They even took it a step further and started actually calling these people on the list. And according to the FBI, over 15 people they reached out to would pay them over $100,000 for tickets, which again didn't even exist. So then in June of 2018, after word had started getting around that this was clearly another scam targeting the Fyre Festival attendees, Billy McFarland would be rearrested and charged with 5 felonies, including wire fraud, money laundering, identity theft, obstruction of justice, and witness intimidation, after he warned people not to talk to the FBI. And Billy would then be sentenced to 6 years in federal prison.
The man behind that highly publicized Bahamas Music Festival that fell flat. Concert goers stranded with little to eat and just tents to sleep. The Fyre Music Festival creator now arrested and charged with wire fraud in a separate case.
Again, it's just crazy that Billy went right back to scamming as soon as he got out on bail.
This took me the longest to, I think, be truthful to myself about what really happened. I think I was just in denial for so long that I could have possibly followed up such a fucked up event with another mistake, especially while being on bail, as you said. And there's no excuse. I was just so wrong, man. I was desperate and thought I could dig myself out of a hole when, getting arrested and being on bail is the exact opposite time where you should be doing anything.
So then, after being convicted for defrauding investors more than $27 million in total, Billy would begin serving his 6-year sentence at Brooklyn MDC for 7 months, before then being transferred to FCI Otisville in upstate New York, where he would then actually get caught for having a USB device.
And why did you get transferred? You didn't say what that was. Do you mind sharing that?
I had a USB device.
USB device, so like a flash drive?
Exactly. I was working on my memoir. And it kind of gets back to the overall theme of just trying to go too fast.
So then, after getting in trouble and bouncing around a few other places, Billy would end up at the Milan Federal Correctional Institution in Milan, Michigan. And in light of the COVID pandemic, back in 2020, Billy would request to be released from prison early, claiming that he is not a risk to the community nor a threat to public safety, as the crime he pled guilty to was nonviolent wire fraud. However, his request would be denied that same month. Also, last year, back in 2021, Billy would spend 6 months of his sentence alone in solitary confinement after taking part in the recording of a podcast. But as of the time I'm recording this, I believe Billy McFarland is still serving his time housed at the Milan Federal Correctional Institution in Milan, Michigan, with a scheduled release date of August 30th, 2023.
I think we're just like the best thing to happen when you're just reduced to absolutely nothing, the forced reflection and confrontation with reality about the seriousness of my mistakes. I think really improved my mindset and was able to help me understand just how seriously I hurt people and hopefully dedicate myself towards helping them in some small way.
But again, despite Billy being the face and leader of the festival, what happened to his co-founder, Ja Rule? Well, again, despite him being a co-founder, Ja Rule has really managed to avoid the fate of his partner. Back in November of 2019, a judge legally cleared Ja Rule of any wrongdoing, meaning he also evaded that $100 million class action lawsuit I mentioned earlier. And not only that, but Ja Rule would also try to paint himself as a victim of Billy McFarland, saying that he too was hustled, scammed, bamboozled, hoodwinked, and led astray.
I think the thing that drives me nuts right now, the main thing that drives me nuts, is people thinking or feeling like I would ever be a part of like conning somebody or fraud. Like those words are really, really like, fuck y'all. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like I just wish everyone could know me personally. Like, so then they would know, like, Ja, that's not Ja, he can never do that. You know what I'm saying? He would just, that's not his character.
However, despite claiming that, Ja Rule definitely did not hesitate about cashing in on all of the attention, as back in December of 2019, Ja Rule would release his new single titled Fyre, and as you're about to hear, it was very far from that.
The festival is on fire. We don't need no water, make that motherfucker hotter.
So now that we've covered what happened to the two co-founders, what about the workers and the locals who were never paid? So like I mentioned in my previous documentary, in an effort to get the site actually built and set up in time for the festival, Billy would turn to the locals on the island of Great Exuma for some help. And like I also mentioned, after the festival went up in flames, and after Billy and his team fled the island, the workers were never paid, with approximately over $250,000 owed in daily wages alone to the locals. Billy would just keep telling them that the money would be coming, but as we see now, it never did.
I think the wrong approach for me is to look at the actual dollar figure, and the most important thing is realizing that I violated one of the most intimate things that I was given, and that was trust.
And then we have this lady, Marianne Roll, who was the owner of the local restaurant on the island and who was scammed out of more than $50,000 of her own life savings in order to feed the festival workers and attendees, and was never paid $1 by Billy.
Fyre Festival was a disaster. I was there preparing hundreds and hundreds of meals, and I was not able to be paid. Out of savings, I'm sure I've spent more than $50,000 in bills that I am still trying to, overcome at this time.
However, after word began spreading online about her heartbreaking situation, people began donating to a GoFundMe campaign that was set up to help raise money for Marianne and her restaurant.
Then I got a call from this guy, Chris, from Netflix, and he said, "Oh, we watched the documentary, and oh, Marianne, my heart is tears in my heart for you. Say, we want to help you. You know of GoFundMe?" I say, "I've never heard of it." And he say, "Okay, I'm going to help you to set it up. I'm going to tell you how to set it up." Say, because we watch it and we really want to help you. And people around the world is going to watch the documentary and they would feel the same way we feel and help you. I say, "Chris, I don't think people around the world know me like that." He said, "Trust me."
And back in 2019, this GoFundMe page would raise over $200,000 to help compensate her for her loss. However, understandably, today Marianne does not like talking about the Fyre Festival and has said that she just wants to erase it from her mind forever. Now, as for the influencers and celebrities, who Billy would allegedly end up paying almost $2.5 million to for them to promote this fraud, such as Kendall Jenner, who herself alone was paid a mind-blowing $250,000 for a single Instagram post, but all of the other influencers would also face some backlash as well, as another one of the world's biggest supermodels who promoted this festival, Bella Hadid, would post this on her Twitter, saying, "I just wanted to address Fyre Festival. Even though this was not my project whatsoever, I do know that this has always been out of great intent and they truly wanted all of us to have the time of our lives. I agreed to do one promotion, not knowing about the disaster that was to come. I feel so sorry and badly because this is something I couldn't stand by. Although, of course, if I would have known about the outcome, you would have all known too. Then Kendall would also eventually speak about it too with the New York Times, saying, "You get reached out to by people to promote or help, and you never know how these things are going to turn out. Sometimes it's a risk. I definitely do as much research as I can, but sometimes there isn't much research you can do because it's a starting brand, and you kind of have to have faith in it and hope it will work out the way people say it will. You never really know what's going to happen." But her and everyone else who promoted the festival would face lawsuits as well, and Kendall Jenner would end up agreeing to pay a $90,000 settlement for her involvement in promoting the Fyre Festival.
On Monday, Jenner agreeing to pay $90,000 to the trust. In 2017, she was allegedly paid over $250,000 for this since-deleted Instagram post plugging the party. Debtors allege in court documents that she did not indicate to the public that she was paid to promote the festival.
But if you think about it, again she was paid $250,000 for one post, which is now deleted, and in the end only had to pay $90,000 of it back, so she still made out pretty good. And as for the people who actually bought tickets and attended the festival, some of them are just now starting to receive their settlement checks today, like this one here for a total of only $200. Also, back in 2020, the United States Marshal Service would auction off Fyre Festival branded merchandise that Billy had been keeping for future sale, and gave all the proceeds also to the victims. Overall, I think we can see again just how poorly this festival was executed, and now you also know the aftermath of it all. Now, will this be the last time we ever hear about Billy McFarland? Well, again, he's set to be released in 2023, so we'll just have to wait and see.
I still think I don't know how to apologize. I've tried writing people letters, I've spoken to them on the phone, and rightfully so, everything has mixed results. So it's just kind of in this thought process where I know what I'm sorry for, I know what I want to say. It's probably a unique situation for every person, and I need to understand that my apologies probably won't be accepted. And if they do, eventually it'll take years and years. But I hope to show you over the next couple of years, through actions and through the transparency of my intentions on making this up to you in some small way. So thank you for believing me. And one time I took advantage for you. It's fucked up. It's not going to happen again. And I'm going to dedicate myself to try to show you how seriously I take this.
So that'll do it for this video on the infamous Fyre Festival. Again, if you haven't seen my previous documentary I did all about it, I definitely recommend checking that out as well. And if you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor and drop a like for me, and also be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for new videos every week. I also wanted to mention that I finally started an Instagram page for the channel, so be sure to also check that out as well.
They was like Ray Charles, didn't see my vision. Only need one shot, don't need no provision. Man, I don't need no permission when I'm whipping in the kitchen. When I'm scraping all these bowls, it is like I'm doing dishes. I ain't worried about that girl, cause she got lots of fishes. I ain't really read the terms or agree to those conditions. I ain't really come from rags, but I'm